Hey guys, welcome to my channel Miss Recap. In the middle of the North Sea, the Kinloch Bravo, one of many oil rigs, braves the night and day, surviving the terrifying waters. Although the rig is standing strong, some crew members have completed their shifts and are eager to leave. Baz, the new guy, gets angry when the roster shows that he has to repeat a shift, and Fulmer, the comms guy, has taken his spot on the helicopter. When Magnus, the crew's leader, communicates with the shore via radio, he is told that their pickup helicopter has been delayed for an unknown reason. It gets worse because their comms get disconnected and they can't contact the shore anymore. Bracing for the crew's angry reaction to the news, Magnus, along with Rose, the oil company's representative, and Fulmer, meet with the crew and inform them of the delay. As expected, the crew members are angry, but before their emotions get fully cooked, the lights on the rig start flickering and the alarms start blaring, signaling a blackout. Following the procedure, the crew dons their safety suits and gathers at the muster point. Lek, one of the crew members, is extremely terrified and struggles to don his safety suit, but Heather, his friend, helps him. Fulmer goes to the control room, but the generators won't come up, so they have to use batteries. Rose and Magnus meet him there and become concerned about a pressure increase that will blow up the rig. Alwyn, a longtime rig worker, sees the second rig, Kinloch Charlie, enveloped in flames some distance away. His fears grow when the metals on the rig start shaking violently, and he runs to his station to contact Magnus, asking for permission to shut down the rig. But Rose is against shutting it down because she is concerned that the company, Pictor, would run at a loss. Disregarding her selfish opinion, Magnus orders Alwyn to shut down the rig before it is too late. Although the power comes back, the radios don't work, so Magnus instructs them to contact the standby vessel to be ready for evacuation while they investigate the cause of the problem. As soon as some peace is restored, the crew is called back inside, and Magnus steps out to find out if the system failure is related to the interference with his call to the shore. Meanwhile, Hutton, another longtime crew member, tells the others that the alarm wasn't real, and Magnus staged a drill to avoid answering their questions about the shift change. At that moment, the rig starts shaking violently and continues for some seconds. I bet you have never seen a rig become epileptic. By the time it stops, they see a thick fog moving in the direction of the rig. In time, the fog greets them, filling the air and making it difficult to see. The leaders regroup in the control room, and Alwyn suggests that the tremors could be the Earth reacting to thousands of years of drilling. But Rose disagrees, saying the tremors happened because the rig was shut down. But Magnus doesn't want a guessing game, so he asks Fulmer and Baz to climb the comms tower to confirm that their comms are working. As they climb the tower, Hutton questions Magnus's decision, saying that it is not safe, but Magnus tells Hutton that they need to know what is happening. Baz goes first, climbing with great energy, but when a bird comes at him suddenly, he gets scared and loses his balance, hitting himself on the ladder. Thankfully, he doesn't get severe injuries and continues till he reaches the top of the tower, watching as Fulmer confirms that their comms are working. There, Baz confronts Fulmer, asking why he was replaced, and his talk gets Fulmer angry. Fulmer launches at Baz, telling him to stop talking. Baz reminds him that they are at the top of the tower, and Fulmer shakes the safety hook, showing that they can't fall. After this, they leave, and Baz sees the bird that attacked him, lying motionless. However, Magnus and Hutton hear a strange sound at the bottom of the tower, and are shocked when Baz falls from the ladder and lies unconscious on the ground. Hutton blames Fulmer while Magnus calls the medical team, wondering what happened because Baz's safety hook isn't broken. As the medical team rushes Baz to their clinic, Fulmer tells Magnus that their comms are not damaged, so Magnus orders him to make contact with the shore for an emergency medical helicopter. Just then, Rose meets them outside and tells them that they won't be able to get the comms working. She shows them data on her computer, explaining that other pipelines aren't working, and she concludes that there is a general problem. Meanwhile, the medical team informs Hutton that they can't operate on Baz because they aren't equipped to do so, but they claim they can try to make Baz stable till help comes. Hutton gets angry, believing the boy won't survive, and starts blaming Magnus. While Fulmer tries to contact the shore, and Rose comforts him, the entire crew remains affected by the incident. Unknown to them, Baz has a vision of a storm, and suddenly becomes conscious, but he doesn't alert the crew and remains calm, in bed. Later, Hutton summons the entire crew to the deck and gives a grand speech, blaming Magnus for the condition of Baz. He declares that Magnus is a bad leader and can't be trusted, showing them a document about the rig being shut down. When Magnus learns of this, he runs to the deck to confront Hutton. He explains that Pictor has plans to shut down the Kinloch Bravo, but assures them that no matter what their faith is, he will get them home safely. At that moment, his glorious speech is crowned with particles of ash, falling from the sky like snowdrops. While the crew is trying to understand what is happening, Baz emerges like a resurrected corpse, announcing that it is too late for the crew and warning that something is coming. As the crew stares at him in shock, Rose escorts him back to the clinic, and when she sees a strange injury on his hand, she asks him about the incident. He explains that while they were on the tower, he looked out into the sea and sensed something was out there. He adds that he heard a noise in his head. Then he starts crying, warning that a wave is coming. After putting Baz to sleep, Rose thanks Kat, the medic, for treating him well, but Kat denies any treatment, saying that she didn't do anything to him. Later, Dunlin, a longtime friend of Magnus and a crew member, confronts Magnus about the plans to shut down the rig, and Magnus says he doesn't plan to continue the conversation with the crew. On the other hand, the crew discusses the incident, and each person questions how Baz survived. Just then, they see a signal light from the window, and Alwyn orders Lek, a crew member, to note the messages coming from the standby vessel, while Alwyn goes to call Magnus. Lek stands out in the fog and writes the code on his arm, smearing the falling ash on his skin. Meanwhile, Hutton, who is confined in one of the rooms, sees the light and also becomes concerned. In the control room, Fulmer interprets the messages and tells them the standby vessel is ready to rescue them. Dunlin wants to evacuate the crew to the standby vessel, but Rose doesn't agree, saying that there is no current threat to the rig, and she wants production to resume. To Dunlin's surprise, Magnus agrees with Rose, and this makes Dunlin angry. As the hours go by, the lights on the rig keep flickering, the comms remain down, and the crew is struggling to stay calm. While the crew gathers in groups to share a meal, Baz wakes up in the medic room and discovers that all the wounds on his body have healed. He also has another strange vision of a storm which frightens him. At the same time, Lek, who has been standing on the deck, starts freezing and experiences something similar to a heart attack. But the crew doesn't see this. They are busy trying to enjoy a meal, and when Heather, another crew member, asks about the standby vessel, Dunlin tells her that it is on its way. Heather goes on to ask about the wave Baz said was coming, and Dunlin tells her that Rose thinks it is not possible. Alwyn disagrees with him and tells them the story of the Storega slide, a huge wave that started on the Norwegian Sea and hit the land, wiping out everything there. He adds that the location of the rig was once dry land, claiming that a strong wave could hit them. As they are talking, Baz dons his safety suit and attempts to escape the rig, but he suddenly hears a groaning sound and vomits a strange golden object. Meanwhile, Rose collects a sample of the ash for analysis, and she tells Magnus she wants to find out what's causing the fog. Fulmer interrupts their conversation and tells Magnus that the standby vessel has also lost connection with the shore. He also advises that if they plan to evacuate the rig, they need to do it tonight because, in the morning, the sun won't let them see the signal lights from the standby vessel to track its location. Rose once again disagrees, insisting that there is no reason to leave, but this time, Magnus doesn't agree with her, choosing to save lives instead of keeping to protocols. Just then, Kat comes into the room and tells them that Baz is missing, and Magnus asks her to quietly search for him with the help of a few people. As soon as the search begins, Alwyn finds Baz at his station, drawing a strange pattern on the glass, and Baz expresses regret for climbing the tower. Baz says that something is controlling his thoughts, and before he leaves, he warns Alwyn that something is coming. While the rig is trying to deal with Baz, Lek goes to look for Kat in the medic room, and when he doesn't find her, he steals some alcohol, dilutes it with water, and drinks it like he just won the lottery. Then he heads to his room to take a shower, but notices that there is a lot of ash on his skin. His condition worsens when blood starts coming out of his body through his tattoos. For the first few seconds, he is confused, but time isn't on his side as he struggles to control himself and eventually dies. Moments later, Heather finds his body when she goes to drop some food for him, and she alerts Magnus. When Rose sees the body, she realizes that she needs to run biological tests on the ash. Magnus, on the other hand, instructs Dunlin to make sure no one leaves the rig. Their problems have just begun because Fulmer notices a signal light in the distance, but it is not from the standby vessel. He informs Alwyn, and both of them head to the deck to investigate, trying to find the source of the strange light. Unknown to the crew, a greater danger exists within because Hutton escapes, believing he can rescue everyone. He goes to the control room and sends an SOS signal to the standby vessel, telling it that it is time to evacuate the crew. When Fulmer and Alwyn see this, they try to get back into the ship, but the door is locked. While thinking of another way in, Fulmer notices that the ash has stopped falling, and the duo feels a little hopeful. Then Alwyn looks for another entrance while Fulmer remains at the door, banging on it and asking for help. Luckily, his cry is heard and they open for him, but Alwyn is left outside. As soon as Fulmer gets in, Rose notices an injury on his hand, but he doesn't think it is severe, and he gives her the good news about the ash. At the same time, Magnus and Dunlin confront Hutton, who seizes the keys of the rig and insists that they must evacuate. Because of Hutton's actions, the entire crew prepares for evacuation. But back at control, Magnus regains control of the rig, and Fulmer tries to send a message to the standby vessel, asking it to abort the mission, but they aren't sure it has received their signal. Terrified that the vessel will hit the rig because of the fog, they send a message over the internal radio to the crew, asking everyone to remain inside the rig. However, Alwyn doesn't hear them and remains outside, looking for Baz in the dark. When Magnus sees this from the camera, he decides to go out and rescue Alwyn, explaining that if the vessel hits the rig, Alwyn will die without a life jacket. But Dunlin volunteers to go in his stead, saying that the crew will need its captain. The heat is on. To prevent further loss of lives, Magnus orders the crew to prepare for the collision, but luckily the standby vessel gets the message to abort the mission and diverts its course. However, as it turns away, it sends a wave of water through one of the decks. On the doomed deck, Alwyn finds Baz and tells Baz to return with him, but Baz refuses, saying that he wants to see it himself. When Alwyn asks what he's talking about, Baz can't explain. So Alwyn begs him to return, but Baz gets angry and holds Alwyn by the neck, causing Alwyn to vomit a lot of water from his mouth. Dunlin sees them and runs there, but it is too late. The wave washes over them. By the time Magnus and Kat get there, Alwyn is already dead, and Kat, the medic, claims he died by drowning, even though he didn't enter the water. Moments later, Magnus returns inside the rig, angry that he has lost 2 people in one night. Rose tries to comfort him, and then asks about the standby vessel. He explains that it has gone to the other rig, Kinloch Charlie, and refuses to turn back. After hearing this, Rose leads him to the medic room, and explains that the ash contains parasites. Rose adds that the parasite attaches to the body of its host, and attempts to remove substances it considers impure, and it completely takes control. Finally, she informs him that they need to monitor people exposed to the ash for a long time, or those who have an injury. The rig braves the night, trying to survive its devastated humans on board. Its leaders now face the terrifying reality that the world has ended because of the parasitic fog, and eventually they will all go one by one. This is the perfect part to sing the trending North Sea song about all hands hoisting the colors. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notification so you can watch more videos like this.